there's nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away to go. Leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you never run before.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. I am Cammy Black. It's December, the 1st of December, as we're recording this, the beginning of what I know John takes part in this Whamageddon. John's with us this evening.
I do. I take it very seriously. I put my initial day one update up on the group today. Taking it very seriously. I went on a supply mission to Morrison's earlier on. It's very, very, very exciting.
Do you know, I looked up the lyrics to this and I was going to open by singing it, but then apparently that doesn't count.
Doesn't matter yet. It's only the original. If you play it now, I will find you, though.
That was my backup, but by then that felt cruel.
There was a person in my work this morning threatened to wham everybody, and honestly, I don't think anybody's going to speak to her again.
Yeah. So you have to listen. So this is, you have to avoid as far as possible in December. Listen, Last Christmas by Wham, the original, not the remixes, not covers,
just
not
the
me
original.
singing it at you.
Just the original up to the 24th of December.
Have you ever made it?
I made it the first year I've done it. It was out in the 8th last year.
Oof.
It was quite early. I was over in Spar and I got whammed. And I actually spent 20 minutes asking the shopkeeper if it was the original and to prove it.
Are you going to play it on Saturday night, John?
Funnily enough, no, it's not. It's not one that I don't think the talent knows how to play that one. So, yeah, not Saturday, I'm afraid.
No, this is the well, it's kind of the two-fifths of the podcast have a band, a covers band.
Two-fifths and two fans. That's almost a good band name.
Yeah. Where are you playing on Saturday night?
So we're over at the Cave in Paisley at 9 o'clock on Saturday night. So, which will be good fun. And it is my birthday. So if you are wanting to pop along and say happy birthday.
And if you're watching live, he's even. This is how on brand Johnny's even got a band t-shirt on tonight.
I do.
Screenshot of the band.
Yeah.
We're also joined this evening. We've got Craig Manson with us. Hello, Craig.
How are we doing?
I'm okay, Craig. Craig's got his own cult following now. It's quite frightening. people jumping in my Twitter mentions saying, "I hope you're on the podcast this week, Craig, to give it to them."
Well, you know, it is a Scottish rugby podcast, featuring Craig. That's it has to be. I'm going to have to ask for the name to be changed so that all of my cult can follow me and know exactly where to find me.
We're gonna have to get you a proper. We need we have to find a different way of pronouncing your name then, Craig Manson.
Yeah, or some sort of guru in front of it or something like that.
Dr. Guru Craig Manson.
I have been told by my missus though I'm not allowed to set fire to the house at the end if the FBI come calling. So
go quietly. Is that what she said? You'll have to go quietly.
I have to go quietly. Apparently, yeah.
What happens if you burn the house and the flames go orange and slightly, and there's little flicks of blue? Would that bring the cult closer to you?
Well, you never know. I have sat. I'm not going to say what I've done. I'm not going to say anymore. I just because
Don't incriminate yourself, Craig. Yeah.
I'm not incriminating myself yet until
Wait
the
till the
Patreon side
standoff.
of things. Yeah.
I'm going to pop down to Tesco and Cooper and make sure they don't sell you any Kool-Aid.
There's always that bit. There's always that bit in the film where they have to go off and find the one guy that can talk them down.
Don't
I hope you're
send
not
Jonny.
insinuating that's me.
Let's
Don't send Jonny. Please don't send Jonny.
This guy.
So yeah, we also got Jonny McGinty with us this evening as well. Good evening, Jonny.
Good evening, how are we doing?
Jonny there stood outside of Craig's compound with the loud head encouraging him,
With a boombox
egging
on
him
my
on.
head. What's the worst that could happen?
My neighbours will come out and throw things at you. That's the worst that can happen.
So the giant burning effigy of Blair Kinghorn could, think of the greenhouse gases that's going to set off. So anyway, this is a kind of fun banter that you can hear at our live podcast that we're planning on doing. See, that was a neat segue, wasn't it?
That's good, I like that.
We have joined up with 3 Bricks Events who run they run American football watch parties.
Oh, Cam has.
He's away.
He's gone.
I think he was
That's
saying
it,
they run
he said it.
American football watch parties at the Biscuit Factory in Leith. I assume
Yes.
that because that's where we're doing our Six Nations watch parties. So
Pop him back. I think
No.
Cam pressed the leave button.
I pressed it. I didn't. I swept with my. What happened is I swept with my hands across, and it pressed the back. Made my browser go back.
Do you know what's great, Cam? Though you can't do that in a live show.
No, you can't. You can't.
Nice job. But
So-
that is what happens when you bring my name into question, by the way. I cut
Your
you off.
internet crashes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your Lordship, Your Highness. Yeah, I don't know if you can buffer at a live show. Maybe we'll give it a go. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to try very carefully move to the event page now without going back up my browser again. So this, the 3 Bricks Events are bringing. We've got a lot Six Nations watch parties. We'll be there doing live podcasts. You've got music from the clouds. We've got WP Nell's. Was it a butcher? It's the proper pioneer. He's catering company anyway that sells various South African cured meats. The proper pioneer, they'll be there as well doing the catering. There's going to be kind of fundraising challenges and charity partnerships and things still to be announced. So it's on Eventbrite. We'll put the link on the blog tomorrow. You've got the 5th of February where there'll be Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England. 12th of February, Wales, Scotland, and France, Ireland. 26th of Feb, France, England versus Wales. And then the 19th of March, the final day of the Six Nations, Wales, Italy, Ireland, Scotland, and France versus England. We don't know exactly what we're going to be doing. We'll be kind of a bit of chat about the games, a bit of fun and games with people in the audience. There will be 2 of us there at each event. We'll finalise kind of the lineup closer to the time. So that is, we're quite excited about that. We've been talking about doing it for a long time, and we're grateful to 3 Bricks for giving us the chance to give it a go and see how that turns out. So we have live hands in the ruck. Just think of that.
Post match as well. It's going to be carnage.
Can you just imagine? Yeah, I have to. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so that's that. So like I said, keep an eye out for the link on the blog tomorrow. That's scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. It'll also be on our Twitter pages as well, at Scott Rugby Blog and at Scott Rugby Pod. We'll do the news then. Although we have had some Where's Doogie Donnelly's that I might need to get to if I can remember them. If someone reminds me later on, I might get some Where's Doogie Donnelly's.
Do you have announcements before that, Cam?
Do I have announcements
with regards to the event? Do we have announcements? Have we got winners yet, or is that later?
Oh yeah, of course. Well done, John. See, this is why you're here, John. So,
Can't get the staff, mate.
I know you can't, honestly.
This would never have happened last week.
I would never have got to it.
I purposely didn't listen to it because I kind of feel like it'd be like like somebody with a nanny cam. I'll just trust that that's gone well. Nobody's emailed me to nobody's emailed me to complain.
No news is good news.
We've still got a Facebook account this time, so
It was a bit dubious at one point, but yeah, we got there.
That's fine. Anyway, so we with Three Bricks Events, we had a bit of a Twitter contest to give away some tickets. They ran one on their Instagram. There are winners of 2 tickets, so they're going to be in touch with the winners on Instagram that they ran on theirs. Nick Sherrard, who listens to the podcast, hello Nick. Nick has won 2 tickets to the event, so
Fantastic.
well done to Nick. Everybody else are on early bird, and they're available from today, which is the 1st of December. So again, link tomorrow. News then. We will start with there's some sad news yesterday or last night anyway. The Scotland back row Siobhan Catigan has sadly passed away. Siobhan's a big part of the Scotland back row over the last few years. She's been playing the most recent games, but it's a big loss, I think, to Scottish rugby. Craig, and obviously the women's squad are incredibly tight. Been kind of that same group of players have been together for quite a few years now, so that's going to hit them quite hard, you'd imagine.
Yeah, there's been quite a large outpouring from all the rugby community, especially the women's rugby community. She was a very well thought of player, not only for Scotland but for Stirling County. In fact, she was well known to be one of the stalwarts of the team and helped to make County what they are. An absolute, to be taken so young. Our thoughts really go out to our family and friends and our teammates. It's a sad time.
Yeah. We didn't mention last week, and like I said, it's hard to know how these things will affect the squad, but we have got the news now of the qualifying dates for the World Cup. So they'll be in preparations for that now. So this is Scotland are going to be playing in a tournament in Dubai in February, late February. So they will play in a squad with where have we gone? I had the list all gone. It's all gone. So Scotland will face Colombia as it stands in a semi-final, and then they'll face the winner of a match between Samoa and either Kazakhstan or Hong Kong, and that's going to be played at the Seven Stadium in Dubai on the in February. I think it depends on final world rankings, but that'll be interesting. It's eminently doable, I would think, John, as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you would, under normal circumstances, those fixtures, you would be looking for Scotland to really kind of go and do a job there. I think we've seen in the past when we've lost people within the rugby world, it can act as a highly emotional motivating factor, and I'm sure the girls will use it as such. But it's really difficult, isn't it, to be even thinking about kind of World Cup qualifiers and World Cup games when you've had such a shocking piece of news. It's quite difficult. So I think everyone will just take a wee while to reflect and remember Siobhan, and then concentrate on the qualifiers after that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like we said, Jonny, she was a big part of that back row for Scotland women for a few years now, and it's it's obviously they've played the last few games and she wasn't there, but still it's going to be a big loss to the squad, and obviously somebody well thought of as well.
Yeah, and it's difficult, especially like you say, it's been quite a core group for such a long time. It is really, really hard when something like that happens. And she obviously was, not just by the team, but quite well thought of by everyone. We've got quite a few pod listeners and stuff who are involved with Stirling County who all say she was always down the club and she was more than happy to help out with the minis and stuff. And when you lose someone like that, it's not just on the pitch, it's the atmosphere that they bring around the team and stuff as well. It could only be really difficult.
Yeah. Well, it was thoughts with everybody in the Scotland camp and Stirling County with the loss of Siobhan there. Other news then, Lee Jones is playing professional rugby again, Jonny. He's been named in the Sevens squad. I think everybody, not least Lee Jones, thought that his time had come, and yet here he is.
It's a weird thing to go from fully retired to Sevens, because Sevens is a lot of running. And so I saw his name on the team sheet and I was like, really? Is that what he wants to do? Because if I was retired, the last thing I'd want to do would be to go back to playing sevens. But
Did he officially announce his retirement, or did he just not have a contract?
I think he retired.
I think he did.
Because I
Yeah.
thought his exit from Glasgow was more of I'm gutted to be leaving Glasgow, but it kind of left it quite open. And certainly from his interview on the offside line, he was talking about how he'd always kind of thought he had another year to give. He always wanted to play another year, and it was kind of like, the opportunity came up and he jumped at it. But I don't know, I might be wrong. I mean, he might have outright said, Steve Redgrave style, I'm absolutely retired and that's that. But I think there was some ambiguity in it.
I think you're right. I don't think he actually, when looking back at it at the time, it was reported as though
he had retired, but he was actually
retired.
didn't have a contract.
Yeah. I do love just Googling it just to try and find the news, and obviously it's the parochial angle you get on things like this. It's in the Southern Reporter. Selkirk's Lee Jones leaves Glasgow Warriors, and they've got a quote from Philippa as well, just to say we wish Lee all the best.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was just he was just on the final list of Glasgow leavers. I mean, obviously they had a lot of wings brought in with the new signings, so you could see. But he's only 30.
33, isn't he?
Is he 33?
33, I thought.
Well,
You'll forever look about 19. That's the main thing.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah.
I can see. I mean, if you look at that seventh squad, though, it kind of makes
33.
sense. 33. Well, it makes sense to kind of have somebody like Lee Jones come in, because you've got Gavin Lowe, you've got Lee Jones, you've got Jamie Farndale's 43 caps. Given the break that there's been, Craig, in the sevens, and especially because for the last year they've had to play the GB squad because of the kind of contractual arrangements around the Olympics, it makes sense to call somebody like Lee Jones back in, so you're not starting the squad from a load of kind of guys in single figure caps.
Yeah, I think also if you look at the squad, it's there's a lot of young guys coming through from the Super Six. So I think having those sort of I'm not saying that he's there only for this. I think he actually had some fantastic games just at the end of his Glasgow career. He played incredibly well at that point. So I think you'll find that he's been out with the sevens before. He knows what he's doing, and he'll help guide them along. And I think it's an interesting one, but I think it'll be a very, very good appointment. I think.
Yeah. The other big one as well, which is interesting, is Femi Suffolaron, who was playing for England before he turned 18, and I think turned out for Scotland as well before he turned 18, because you're not captured by the seventh squad until you turn 18, and has now obviously committed to Scotland. I think he'd said previously his ambition is 15s, but he is a really exciting talent. When he's going to be, I think I think England were quite upset to see him go.
Yeah, they don't seem to be best pleased. I think we're quite lucky that Scotland have had decent continuity with our seven setup. So we're a lot better placed maybe to be attracting that sort of player. There's a bit of upheaval around the other countries. Wales, especially, obviously, with them completely sacking their sevens program entirely and then deciding to bring it back. I think we've kind of done the right thing to kind of keep ours ticking over, and it means we're quite a sort of well-prepared setup, and it stands us in good stead when someone's kind of choosing their allegiance that we've got that sort of continuity, I think so.
Which, given all the nonsense that happened a few years ago regarding the sevens programme and whether we were scrapping it, it's incredible that we're standing here on that high ground going, look at us being organised.
Well, I think Ireland said recently, John, that they were pretty much told they had to have a seven squad because it was ridiculous for a tier one nation not to have a seven squad. So that was going to cut at some point. We were going to get tell.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I mean, Ireland, you can understand why they wouldn't want a 7 squad. You don't tend to train one-up runners off of rucks in sevens, whereas Scotland's a wee bit more expansive. It probably suits our style slightly more. So it's probably the same with Wales, actually. I suppose you can do up and unders and sevens. It's just not very effective.
Ireland just used their sevens program as a feeder for Love Island, did they not?
That's it. Yeah, they get ITV money for their sevens program.
Yeah. I wonder that we haven't got. Obviously, there is a sevens program for the women. They're not in the World Series though, Craig. Although they have qualified for the Commonwealth Games. Interestingly, I do wonder whether or not this is a missed opportunity, because Ireland made a big thing of getting their women to. I think particularly their men's side to kind of try and qualify to get into the World Series, and you wonder whether or not. There's no sign that Scotland are making any concerted effort to do that. And obviously, there's big money in sevens, and it's an opportunity to get some pro contracts handed out. And it's, sevens has done wonder for plenty of players that have then gone to play 15s. I mean, you look at the way that Wales have used it with their women, although, obviously the way that they've treated the professional women's player isn't great, but they have, nevertheless, it has been a good way of kind of being able to pay and develop particularly the backs to play at a higher standard.
I think you've hit the nail on the head about development. I think the problem you have is that again we find ourselves at the point of we've got money, so we're going to spend it on the men's game, and I think it's an opportunity missed. But also, we're very. You obviously just said it, but we're quite highly thought of as a union within sevens.
Yeah.
We've done a fairly good job with our sevens.
Invented it.
Well, there is that. I didn't want to go. I understand. I'm talking about. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But they've ruined it by putting that pitch down at the Green Yards. But that's a different story. But if you look at the background of it, you look at how developed. I know, for example, Pete Horn and George Horn both went through the sevens,
Yep.
and when George was in a wilderness, I suppose is a bit harsh, but he was at a point where he wasn't developing through the academy as well as everybody thought he was going to, and then he went away with the sevens and absolutely was. On fire, and it's brought him on. It brought Pete. Pete had an absolute fab time with the sevens and going around the world. So I think it's. I think we should be, if we're going to be at the forefront of something, can we just be the forefront of sevens and taking the women's game that way as well?
Yeah. Lest we forget as well that everyone's favourite Blair Kinghorn went to the sevens to recapture form after some confidence-denting performances for Edinburgh, which is another use of sevens that we maybe don't use as much.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They haven't, for all we kind of say that, Scotland sevens are highly thought of, and I think we've had some exceptional players. We've never quite, Jonny, managed to scale the heights that I think we have the potential to, and I don't know whether or not the fact that Scotland use it as a development squad as opposed to having a proper fixed seven squad affects that a little bit, because obviously there's that historic win in Twickenham, but there's just no consistency to it.
Yeah, and that will always be a problem when you're using it as a development tool. So I think Craig's absolutely right. We need to decide what we're doing with the sevens and what it's going to be, because it's a really good developmental tool at the moment, and it would be a shame to lose that. But at the same time, you're right what you say about it needs to be consistent. And if you don't have a consistent group of seven specialist players, and we've got a couple of really good ones, but I don't think we've ever had a decent group of them at a time, then you're never going to be more than sort of mid-table in the World Series, as they call it.
Yeah. You get a couple of shields and a couple of balls,
yeah,
but you're
exactly.
never going to win the cup.
That's the thing. There's so many trophies. You can always be competing for something, but
It's
Scotland should be at the top of the table.
It's like Oprah Winfrey. You get a trophy. You get a ball. You get a shield.
How is the trophy room in Murrayfield these days? Maybe they could
full of balls. Full of balls.
Oh, full of balls. A wee shield here and there. Brilliant.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, you know, and then we come on to obviously, you know, it's a shame that Scotland haven't got a leg of the World Series, but you know, we'll see.
It
We
was
might get one of
always-
the two Spanish legs the way it's going at the moment.
I know. Well, who knows? We should be putting a bid for it because I mean, it's Murrayfield would be an immense Sevens stadium because it's set up perfectly for that. You know, nobody goes to Sevens to watch the rugby. Everyone goes out to go on the piss, don't they? You know, and Murrayfield's perfect for that because you've got the compound. You can go and have the bands on in the background and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah,
if you want to
just
go in and
all
be
sorts
bothered
of
to watch the rugby, you
Yeah.
can do.
The Sevens was always such a good day out, and it is a real shame that we don't have it.
I remember going to World Cup Sevens. Must be 90 odd, maybe 1990, something like that. It was and it was held at Murrayfield. It was one of the first, if not.
That was late
No,
90s because some of the players, when you look at the England squad, they had guys like Delalio were playing in that one, I think, that World Cup.
Yeah.
Was it not the last tournament in Old Murrayfield before they knocked it down, though?
No, the one I went. Well, maybe it was. I just remember being right up in the gods, and I got in their the Sevens shirt at that time was just basically almost a replica of the Scotland football shirt. It was that same shiny polyester sort of 90s sort of outerwear. I always remember that because my dad bought me one when I was there. So as if I was ever a Sevens player, tell you. I could dream though.
And,
I'm trying to figure out that was.
and you did dream, Craig. You did dream.
I dreamed big.
I'm trying to see when this was because it was. I did when we've got for our patrons, patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast, £3 a month. We did a podcast on the history of the Sevens that's worth looking up. But I'm trying to see when that first, because it was the first World Cup, and okay, it's not coming up now. But there were some really interesting names in that in some of the squads. There was some
I
big
think
names.
I think it was held in England, but Murrayfield was one of the stadiums or something like that.
Would it have been the 1993 World Cup Sevens, which were held at Murrayfield? The tournament was the inaugural Rugby World Cup Sevens.
That'll be it. That's it.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
All I know
Cammy
is I got my
hasn't
tickets
edited
to
that
Shell.
wiki page.
Jokes on you, it was actually 1992 and he just wanted to read that out.
Yeah, it was actually 1990, but Cam's just edited it there.
I just edited it on the fly. That's it. Here we go. Look, the squad. Here's the squads because the squads were really interesting when I looked this up. So if I can find the
Now, can I guess? Was that the year Lomu played Sevens?
no, Lomu was not in. There's a couple of big names in the New Zealand squad. Todd Blackadder, Pat Lam,
Nice.
who we got for South Korea played in that.
They did.
Let's have a look, see if we can find the Scotland squad and see what the David Campese played for Australia. Michael Liner was there as well. Scotland. Oh, we had nobody. Donny Weir played Sevens. That's where we were in 1993. Donny Weir and Carl Hogg are the only names that stand out in that. Oh, Andy Nichols there as well. So that must
Dodgy
be
Weir
very
playing
early.
Sevens. Holy shit.
Wasale
Wow.
Sereve played for Fiji. Obviously, legend of the Sevens game. Neil Jenkins played Sevens.
England, the England squad, Lawrence Delalio and Matt Dawson were in that.
Cringe.
But Matt Dawson
There's
must have
a
been
pair
about
of
12
pundits.
when he played in that.
France
go.
had Philippe Bernard Salle and Eric Bonneval were playing for them.
Yeah, you see.
Some amazing names here. I'm hooked, right? You guys got in my pod. I'm going to stay.
You see, going down a rabbit hole for the 1993 one.
Diego Dominguez played for Italy. Yes. Oh,
This is what the Sevens misses. What you need to do if you're doing a proper World Seven Series, you need to just throw in a couple of big names.
just absolutely like, especially
Can,
guys
do,
like
can
Neil-
you imagine? Can you imagine Doohan playing Sevens?
I can just I've had a crisis.
Camera off.
Yeah, see, they've ruined that because it used to be that Sevens was the way you could re-nationalize yourself.
That's right.
Yeah,
Because that's what Malachi Fekitoa just did, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Sevens
Yeah.
loophole where you.
And then someone, the Argentinian Italian guy in Italy's Six Nations squad, he did it as well.
Sergio
Sevens for
Parisi.
Italy. Not Sergio Parisi. The other Italian Argentinian guy.
The other
I'm
Italian
surprised.
guy.
Hey, I tell you, I'm surprised Sergio Parisi wasn't in the 1993 Italy squad too.
Age 4.5. We're just going to check he wasn't.
Right, so that's the sevens anyway. So what we're going to do first? Do you want Jonny and John? Do you want me to get Glasgow out the way first?
I suppose so.
You may as well get the negative out the way before we turn on to the positive.
To remind myself of the key moments in the game, I thought while I was having my tea, I thought I'll watch the highlights just to remind myself what happened. The highlights included, and I went back and counted them, 7 scrums. Right, genuinely, the URC highlights package included 7 scrums.
Horrible game. It was a horrible game of rugby.
They weren't even things like they weren't even like a scrum that then led to something. It was just a scrum.
Like, oh, here's a scrum.
Then they passed the ball, and then they cut to the next scrum, and the clock had moved forward 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that game.
It was dreadful.
I was at a 6th birthday party on Saturday afternoon that somehow turned out to be more enjoyable than watching that Glasgow game.
What was it then, John? Go on, Johnny. You go. What
I did
was
say
it?
last week that I was worried about Benetton, didn't I? I said I don't think it's as easy as you think it's going to be.
I don't think Benetton is. I don't think Benetton are as easy as people think they are anymore. But, and I think there's obviously a historic reputation that Italian teams are rubbish, but they were Rainbow Cup winners, and I know we joked about it at the time, but they still were Rainbow Cup winners. I mean, they're on a. I mean, how many games have they won on the trot now? Are they like 6, 7 games unbeaten?
Something like that, yeah. And like, as much as we joke about the Rainbow Cup, they were quarter-finalists in the Pro 14 the season before, and they were 1 kick away from taking that quarter-final off of Munster at Thomond Park. Like, I think everybody, and myself probably as well as the rest of us included, when they announced the format of the URC, went, oh, free money, 4 games against the Italian teams. But Benetton are not a joke team anymore. And like as we've both learned so far this season, you underestimate them at your peril now, I think.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did tweet about earlier on when the game finished was, it wasn't sitting look at you guys getting beat by Benetton. It was we know where you're coming from with that one, because they did exactly the same thing, although it was, instead of a penalty kick, it was a drop goal. But I think they are an incredibly strong team now. They are becoming a strong team. I'm not one for going away. I'm not a fan of them going to Benetton to play them. They're incredibly strong at home. We'll find out next week how strong they are. Well, in fact, no, we'll find out on Friday, I should say, how strong they are away from home.
Yeah. John, what was it for you then? Because I mean, it wasn't like the Glasgow rested all their internationals. There was a fairly solid, apart from Ryan Wilson being away with the kind of plague squad down in London.
It was the lack of Ryan Wilson, actually. No. So, actually, like, to be quite clear, Glasgow had that game. They could have won that game. They should have won that game. Much the same as Edinburgh, actually, earlier on in the season. And I criticised Edinburgh at that point, saying that, do you know what? Right, so I know we're all saying that Benetton are a great side, and they're no longer the joke side they were. This is telling about where Scottish rugby pro clubs are actually at just now, that we are worried about going away to Benetton, because I can tell you for nothing that Ulster, Munster, probably even Scarlets, those sort of clubs are probably not that worried about going away to Benetton. They're probably sitting, they're not doubting, saying, we might struggle, we might get a wee losing bonus point here. So for me, it's quite frustrating. Glasgow shot themselves in the foot 100 times over, and then took the gun and just done what they want to do with it. It was ridiculous that we managed to lose that game. 3 penalties conceded within 90 seconds that cost us the game. It was brain dead. And I'm going to a wee bit of a rant here, but I just need to get this out because my therapist tells me I have to. I said it last week, actually. And I got forward a wee bit as well. Duncan Weir. You bring a guy back for pure experience. You bring him back for, exactly that moment, exactly those situations where it's experience, close out the game, make sure you make your touch, make sure you make your kicks. It is his game, and he absolutely and utterly made a twat of it. And it led us to lose the game. And, I'm not singling out individuals. In terms of losing the game, there's lots of situations that we did lose the game, but that moment we could have won the game, and he's there to do that, and he failed to do it.
But this is the flip side, though, and we talk about the URC, and the great thing it's done is it's the international windows now aren't compromised by having you playing your URC games at the same weekend so they're not competing with international games, but effectively, someone like Duncan Weir hasn't played rugby for over a month. Competitive rugby for over a month. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse, but I do wonder whether or not, in terms of match sharpness, to then come up against Benetton, and they've got a lot of Italian players in their squad. Obviously, Glasgow had the same, but someone in that pivotal a position coming in to close out a game who hasn't played rugby in a month. Is it a case of just a lack of match sharpness, John? Or am I being charitable?
Start him and bring Ross Thompson on then.
Yeah.
It's management at that point. I've also had my fill with Danny Wilson as well a few times on here, but that, if he's not sharp, he's not sharp. That's fine, but then start him, throw him in, see how he goes for 40, and then bring on your guy who's been playing in the autumn or been training. It's not like these guys have been sitting on their butts for 4 to 6 weeks. They'll have been running about doing stuff. I've seen plenty of Glasgow Warriors videos that tell me that.
Johnny, what went wrong for you? Now that John's rant's over, John, go and have a lie down, John.
Stop me if you've heard this before. Glasgow's discipline, it's exactly like John said. It's brain dead penalties, stupid things that we don't need to be doing, and it happens time and time again. And and that's not even a Danny Wilson thing, because it was happening under the old management as well. Something is going on with Glasgow's discipline, and it's been like that for years. And until it gets sorted, when we find ourselves in games like that where you are 2 or 3 points either way from winning or losing a game, if you're giving away penalties like that, you're going to lose a lot more than you're going to win.
Yeah. What went right for you though, Johnny?
That's bad, isn't it? No, Rory Darge was great again. Jack Dempsey was great again. Ball carrying from the loose forwards continues to be really, really good. Yeah. We've got a bit of bite that I think we've lacked for a little while. We'll get Matt Fagerson back into that as well. It's something that I said during the autumn that Scotland can do with. And if Glasgow can keep producing it at that sort of level, then hopefully it'll sort itself out a bit for the national team as well, because we are, our back row carrying has been great this year. It was really good again on Saturday, so happy with that.
Was Sam Johnson captain, or did I?
It was, yeah.
Yes,
no, and he played well.
I was still recovering from the flu, so I didn't know if I was just hallucinating that.
He was the CubeNet Defender of the Week with 7 out of 7 tackles.
There you go.
Amazing.
What an accolade. That's what all players aspire to be. Phoned his mum straight away. Mum! I'm CubeNet Defender of the Week. Well done, son.
Look, he might well have done that, and you're going to feel really silly when he watches this back. And
he's woken his poor mum up because of the time difference, though.
Exactly. And then his mum messages you to say, "Are you dissing my son? He was CubeNet Player of the Week," and now you're going to get all sorts of Twitter DMs now.
I know. Let's move on. I'll put you out of your misery. You don't have to talk about that game anymore. Yay! On the other hand, Craig, Edinburgh Dragons. Wow, that was a good game.
It was a good game, and I'm tempering myself a little bit because it was Dragons. Although they are a resurgent Dragons, they are Dragons that seem to be winning the odd game instead of being beaten all the time. But that is a game that Edinburgh would usually lose. going all the way down to Dragons, and would bring out the, Cockerell would stick out all the young boys, and they would get overwhelmed by the game and would lose it in the second half. So Edinburgh seem to be developing a little bit of a backbone now, and being able to stop losing games in the last 5-10 minutes. Although we didn't do that with Benetton, but that's a different story. I really was impressed that the new Argentinians look absolutely fantastic. Boffelli looked great anyway when I first saw him, but Moyano really showed his class and his pace. If you look at the kick through and the chase of the ball, he had his two defenders on toast.
I didn't think he was going to make that.
He out of no, I looked at it and thought, yeah, that's not going to happen. They've got that covered, and he got, and I don't know whether it's the international side of him coming out of being able to get the ball in those sort of close contests or not. But he got his hand to that, and that was absolutely fabulous. Damien Hoyland was on fire again, really trying to prove himself as a Scotland internationalist, although we've got phenomenal backs as we stand. But having Damien Hoyland is absolutely, was all over the park. And then the usual, Luke Crosby looked incredibly good. A great replacement for Jamie Ritchie when Jamie Ritchie's away. In fact, I think he's maybe got a little bit more bulk than Jamie Ritchie. We also, Magnus Bradbury's still pushing hard, and he seems to be performing incredibly well in the shirt at the moment, and he's stringing a few few pretty good performances together. So yeah, I've mentioned virtually all the team just about, but I think they've done an incredible job. I think that for a team that we all talked about being in not limbo, but they're changing. With Mike Blair, they've changed quite quickly, and they've got into their winning ways quite quickly. I think the groundwork has been done with Richard Cockerell. I think he's invested in players that have proved good. He spent the money well, good investments, and then Mike Blair's has added a few people on the outside, which has really come in and shown us some quality.
I think there's a difference though in rhetoric though, and I think you can probably see that in the squad and the way they responded to it, because like you said, it kind of struck me when you were saying earlier about Richard Cockerell in these kind of games, as like you said, he'd stick out the kids and they'd lose, and Richard Cockerell would shrug his shoulders and say, "What do you expect?
Yeah, it's
the URC, it's the Pro 14. We're going to get beaten in these games all day long, and we haven't got our players aren't good enough." Yeah. And you think that? Can you imagine being the fringe players hearing Richard Cockerell saying that? It's like, "Oh, we've lost our big boys to the internationals. Oh, we can't win that." But you look at somebody like I said, Damien Hoyland, who's been a fringe player at Edinburgh for a few seasons now, and he's going into that game presumably with Mike Blair saying, "Putting faith in you to go and put a performance," rather than "I'm throwing you in because we haven't got anybody. Our normal wingers away, and we'll probably lose, but on you go, son."
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've gone from a point of, as an Edinburgh fan, I've gone from this point of, we're going off to Dragons. All the big players are away with Scotland, or they're on their break from Scotland. This is going to be squeaky bum time. I'm not looking forward to this game. We now have the depth that we can. The young lads that are coming through are strong. They have the ability to. There's McBurnley at Hook had a very good performance on the weekend. It's the first time I've really seen him, we've got that depth now, and then having and you've all had a giggle, and we've all had a long discussion about it, and we've had this and that and the other. But I will say that Blair Kinghorn at 10 is working for me. And he's doing a good job. He's distributing the ball. He's the only I suppose questionable thing at the moment is his goal kicking. And if we were talked about Finn Russell last week about his goal kicking. So even the best have their issues with their goal kicking. So I think Blair Kinghorn at 10 is surprising those who maybe didn't believe.
But who's he played against?
Sorry?
John,
Who's he
no.
played against?
Look,
I understand what you're saying, John. I absolutely understand what you're saying, John.
If he runs a game against Ulster, if he runs a game against Munster, fine. Like let's call him a 10 at that point. I will hands down. I will come on here and I will literally say to you, fine. He had a great game at 10. That's fantastic. He hasn't played against MD yet.
Yeah, but John, hang on a second. The big thing you have to understand, and I will back this up. I'm always told we have won the games. We're in the position we're in because we've played the games that were in front of us. That's the way it is. I don't.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
It doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how the dice land. It doesn't matter how you're. I can go and pull all the proverbs out, Mars, if you want. Those are the fixtures. We've done we've played the fixtures and we've won 4, drawn 1, lost 1. And I think if you look at them, for me, if you actually watch them, yeah, okay, there's wee holes here and there in his game. I totally understand that. But if you watch the ability for him to get through the tackle, to step the player in front of him as a 10, he's not just got the passing game or a kicking game. He can attack the line. And that, for me, has been maybe missing a little bit. And I've got to say...
It's probably done.
Do you know?
I think that's the thing. Is I'll jump in. I think. I mean, Brody makes a decent point, but that was early. That's early on, and that was the first game. Was that like the first game that they stuck Blair King on at 10, and we're like, what the hell's going on here? But I think John's point's valid, but it does work the other way in that. Well, he's being eased into it. You don't throw a guy in and say, go and... Well, they did. I was going to say, you don't throw a guy in against someone like Racing and hope that he plays well at 10. Edinburgh did.
Yeah.
But, I can see... I think it's... I suppose the question is, well, it's hard to see and hard to gauge where Blair Kinghorn's potential is at 10. I think that's the thing, because it's unusual, apart from Greg Laidlaw, maybe... It's unusual, I think, for a player at his stage in his career, although he's quite young, to switch to such a pivotal position. You see players maybe switching, you can see a fullback getting the wing, a wing going to fullback. You maybe even see guys switching to centre, but I think it's unusual for players to kind of be parachuted at 10, having not played much 10 before at this level. And that's not to say it won't work. And all the evidence so far suggests that this is working and it's going to work to a degree. We just don't know what that degree is yet. So I think I suppose that's the issue. Whereas a lot of someone like Ross Thompson, for example, maybe I suppose from the outside looking in, people would have more faith in Ross Thompson because he's come through as a 10 and he's played on the 20s as a 10. So I have no doubt. I mean, Christ, even Blair Kinghorn's international coach has said he doesn't know how well he's going to go at 10. But, so I have no doubt that Blair Kinghorn could be an exceptional 10. I think it's a great thing that actually Scotland are developing depth at 10. And we've got guys now that can not just play 10, but can switch positions. So you have got much more cover. I mean, it was only a few seasons ago we were saying, where's the next 10 coming after Finn Russell? Yeah. Joe, and then all of a sudden we've got Adam Hastings, you've got Blair Kinghorn coming in. So I get the Blair Kinghorn love. I absolutely do. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I think he's doing great to kind of persuade the doubters to change their mind that he can go to 10. But I also get the skepticism. I think it's just that thing. It's hard to judge his potential because he's just literally been going, you're a 10 now and you're playing at professional level as 10. It's hard to kind of see. Normally with a player, you would see some kind of like developmental curve, Jonny, I guess.
Yeah. And I think part of where the skepticism has probably come from is exactly because of that. It's not his fault and there's nothing he can do about it. No. But when Edinburgh just wake up one day and go, oh, you're a 10 now, and then Scotland go, oh, he's a 10 now, cool, that's fine. That's where I think a lot of the skepticism stems from. And he has had some really good games at 10 for Edinburgh. He was pretty decent against Tonga for Scotland as well. But, like John says, and like Brodie was saying, he has to prove it against a higher level opposition, and he will get a chance to. And I hope for his sake and for all of our sakes that when he gets that chance that he takes it and we have another option. Because I don't think any of us don't want it to work.
No, absolutely.
Like I'd love him to be a great option at 10 because he's already a good option at fullback and a great option on the wing. So if he could be an international quality option at those three positions, then he's a weapon like we've rarely had before.
Yeah, agreed.
But we do have to see it be proven against high level opposition.
Yeah, but you're talking about a head coach who's come in and changed them, or has started working them with at 10. Who's come from who was the attack coach for Scotland, and he's been well known within both Glasgow and Edinburgh and the Scotland setup. He knows his stuff. He's known Blair Kinghorn for many years. You also and we seem to get lost slightly in the hype train of this isn't about Ross Thompson, but we're talking about Ross Thompson now is going to be the next 10. He's going to be the one that comes through. I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that, because if you guys want, if Glasgow wants to bring out these wonderful mercurial 10s and produce them and they go into the Scotland squad, awesome, because we've had Finn Russell, we've had Hastings, and we've got Ross Thompson coming along. I'm happy to have Blair Kinghorn exactly where he is, week in, week out, winning, helping us win games so that we're finishing and higher in the league, and we become less of a punchline and more of a team that's talked about alongside Ulsters, alongside Munsters. I'm not going to say we're ever going to have the firepower that Leinster have, but okay, fair enough. Blair will probably have a lot of ambition to play, whether it's 15 or 10 for Scotland and all that. But as an Edinburgh fan, I'm quite happy for him to be, to be left at home, because we need him.
Kinghorn will always be in the Scotland squad, though. It will always be in the Scotland squad for versatility.
It's an interesting thing you said there, Craig, about Glasgow's mercurial talents, because I think that also is something that is unfortunate for Blair Kinghorn, is Scotland's history of 10s. Right? Look at everything kind of BF, right? Because all Scotland performances have to be judged BF, which is before Finn. Do you know what I mean? Like Dunky Weir, Rory Jackson, Dan Parks. There was a time when we had Chris Patterson playing 10. Do you know what I mean? Like and probably that's part of it, is switching a 15 to 10. I'm probably having like nightmarish flashbacks to the time when they tried to like shoehorn Chris Patterson in as a 10 just because he could kick well. But Blair Kinghorn at 10 isn't a 10 that Scotland have seen during the AF period, the after Finn period. So all we've got, all Scotland fans have to do is to say he's not Finn Russell, and that's right, he's not Finn Russell. But that doesn't mean that he is a bad 10, because actually they're not. They'll do some of the things the same, but they don't run the game in the same way. They're not going to, because they have different skill sets. That's not a bad thing, but I think he'll always be compared to Finn Russell until he does something exceptional, and then he won't be, because suddenly people will go, oh, hang on, he's a different kind of player. He's not something we've seen before, because apart from Finn Russell, everybody else before that was rubbish.
Ask Leicester how they feel about the fact they're about to sign Andre Pollard, because he's not Finn Russell, but I would take him in a heartbeat. He's a World Cup champion, and he's a lot more like that sort of runs the game, takes his kicks, puts the right people in the right positions. You don't get a 30-meter mystery pass from Andre Pollard, but he's a world champion and he's an absolutely outstanding 10. So you don't have to be Finn Russell to be a good 10.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dan Biggar. I mean, Dan Biggar's won Grand Slams. What's Finn Russell won? Do you know what I mean? You need a good team around you. You need a 10 that can play the game that they want to play, and I've no doubt that Blair Kinghorn can do that. And it's just, I suppose, it's just going to take time for him to be given opportunities, like everyone says, to kind of show himself at a higher level, and those, as you say, Craig, those haven't come because he hasn't. It's not that he's not been given the chance; they just hasn't had the chance yet. Secondly, it's that time to kind of say to people, I'm not a Finn Russell, I'm not a Ross Thompson, I'm not an Adam Hastings. I'm like nothing you've seen before in Scotland, and that's not a bad thing.
The thing is with his versatility as well, we have got the option, if we wanted to to have him and Hastings on the bench.
Yeah.
And then if it gets to 60 minutes and we think, right, we need someone who's going to go on and not cost us the game and kick 3 penalties, then you can send on Blair Kinghorn. Or if it gets to 60 minutes and we're 15 points behind, we're going to go, right, we're going to hit the full madness switch. Then Kinghorn stays on the bench. You can put Hastings on.
I'm more excited about the fact that Townsend said I can also see him as a centre. And that can you imagine having a player on the bench that could cover 10, 13 and fullback and wings, because that gives you also all sorts of different permutations, and one that can play those positions well.
It's basically what Australia have done for years, where they've just taken every talented player they've ever had and said, you know what, play every position, play 10, play 13, play 14, play 15. I mean, James O'Connor, where has James O'Connor? I don't think he's played scrum half, but I wouldn't have put it past him. Because he has played everywhere else. No doubt he's played everywhere else. I know he's played 12 and 13, and he certainly played fullback. I don't know. I know he'll have played the wing as well. I think I remember him
has,
as well. So, Australia have done this, and I've got no issue whatsoever with that.
It's basically like Blair Kinghorn's going to be Scotland's equivalent of a box-to-box midfielder.
It was a
But the thing is, though, you also have to look at that maybe it's what the Scotland squad is looking for.
Yeah.
Ross Thompson, as good as he is, can have quiet games, can be, he's a young guy. I don't know if we desperately need another Finn Russell or another Hastings, another Adam Hastings. He needs to develop, we've been playing him at Glasgow's been playing him at 15 as well. So is this an SRU thing? Is this a Tooney thing? Is he looking at every single player he brings into the Scotland squad to train, and is he trying them out at different places? And all of a sudden you look at Kinghorn, and what I like about this is we're having an actual serious conversation about Blair Kinghorn instead of just writing him off and just saying he's got fingers like Coos others. See that I did it cleanly as well.
Well done, Craig.
So it's good that he's proving that we can talk about him in a positive way, because he's working hard for it, and actually he's showing some skills. We'll wait and see. Yes, fair enough. We've got to look at the who we've got coming up, and I'll tell you what, the test will be on Friday. If he's at 10 on Friday, going up against a strong Benetton team again, it'll be interesting to see what he does against them. But yeah, I just wanted to answer. There's a couple of questions in the comments that are just saying about Yako, and Yako is still injured at the moment. I don't think he is out of favour. I think Yako, you'll probably find that he'll be either start. They'll use both Kinghorn and Yako starting both times. You'll find that one game that Yako's starting and one time that Blair's starting, I would think, and then you'll have the other two, Savala and I've forgotten the other chap's name. Chamberlain. You'll probably find that they're
Nathan Chamberlain's fair dropped off the radar, hasn't he? He had such a hard baptism of fire with Edinburgh because of the
he was thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah, he was, and it was the first time. I have a heart. I actually was looking at that poor guy under a Cockerell game plan and watching him and being like, this guy is terrified to make a mistake. He's terrified to play. And watching him, there was kicks to touch and stuff like that. And watching the amount of, the guy had a huge boot on him. He's got a very, very good kick on him. He's knocked penalties over from 45 plus. And you're watching him and he's taking 20 metres on penalties. And it's like, he is under pain of death to not miss touch here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, but there's a player that's taking a chance to go to the Super Six and build his confidence up.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
He definitely needed it.
So to be clear, we all want Blair Kinghorn to succeed. We all want him to do well. I'm just I just need to see it against a better caliber of team, and then I'll be here saying, "Yep, awesome."
Yep, good stuff. I'm pleased we could all agree to a certain extent and reach some form of consensus over Blair Kinghorn before Craig shut himself in his compound.
I'll have to have a word with
Blair Kinghorn robot to take over the world.
I will
I
guide
can
him.
see
Don't you
flaming
worry.
torches disappearing from my window as we speak. He must have called his followers off.
Anyway, look, that we're going to draw it to a close then for this week. Like I said, if you want more details on the live podcast, go to the blog, scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. If you are a Patreon, then you'll, if you hang around, if you're watching this live, you'll get the second half of the podcast. You can also get access to that on the audio podcast as well. For £3 a month, you get the normal podcast ad-free, plus then a bonus podcast where we just have a moan and a swear for another hour or so. We'll be back next week. I've got some plans for some form of Christmas special, but there's European rugby games getting in the way of my Christmas quiz that I want to run.
Honest. No,
That's
there's
really
not.
frustrating.
No, there's not. Let's be honest.
We have 10 minutes of talking about Glasgow versus La Rochelle, and then I'll ask you questions, some random questions about the season so far. So watch this space. About we normally have a bit of fun at Christmas where we do a quiz or so.
Can I interject another couple
You
of
may
massive
interject, John.
names from the Sevens in 1993? You missed Andy Nicol from Scotland.
I did. I spotted him. I did say Andy Nicol later on.
Did you? All right, and you missed Joos van der Westhuizen from South
Oh,
Africa.
there we go.
So you missed the big one.
Hey, I've got some new big news for Patreon. I have found a picture of Doddy Weir in the 1993 Scotland Sevens shirt. So
Nice.
if you watch live on the Patreon, I will share that with you. But for the moment, it is
dear.
goodbye from me and goodbye from John, Craig, and Johnny.
Bye.
Bye all. Yeah, last week I told the people they couldn't have a bye. You didn't pay